smoke. WTF Nation, laugh till you choke. Wednesday heat, 8 p.m. no debate. Sports Bar Nation, we never show up late. This is the Sports Bar. Wednesday nights we go hard. Veterans strong and we stand tall. WTF Nation, we run the ball. Hey, hey, turn the lights on. It's Sports Bar, come get your hype on. Hey, turn the lights on. It's Sports Bar, come get your hype on. WTF Nation, hey. Wednesday domination, hey. King and coach in rotation, hey. The Sports Bar's sensation. From kickoff to buzzer beaters, we break it all down. Wednesday 8 p.m. the live show in town. It's the Sports Bar, where legends hang out. WTF Nation Radio, we
La 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 la. What do you hear? What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Sports Bar. How y'all doing? I'm Coach. As you can see, unfortunately, my tag team partner for this evening, Mr. King Smith, is not available tonight. He's feeling a little bit under the weather. So it looks like, oh my goodness, I am going to be running a little solo up here. So a little bit of messing up around here, as well as trying to find out what's going to be happening with all of our little comments. I hope everybody is doing all right tonight. Hey, look, I'm running this bad boy solo. That don't mean that it's just going to be my opinion. I want you all to go off, sound off in those chats. Put that out there on YouTube. Put it out there on X. Put it out there on Facebook. We're going to be bringing you the world of sports tonight, and I want to hear directly from you. I'm going to try to go ahead and figure out what I'm doing over here on the back of this so I can show you all's little comments right there on our screen. But as I'm looking at it right now, I want to thank you all so much for joining us here on Wednesday night. For those of you that are new to U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio, well, we come to you live almost 8 o'clock every night during the week with great entertainment and great shows put on to you by veterans, active duty, and those that support the United States military. I thank you all for coming out here tonight. I hope you all check out our host of shows like tomorrow for Sergeant's Time Training, Friday with FTX, Saturday with Weekend Co-ops, and also on Sunday with The Reset and Dr. J. Not that Dr. J that took off from the free throw line from the ABA and the red, white, and blue basketball. No, Dr. J is bringing it to you, talking to you about mental health on The Reset. It's our new show. It's coming to you live on noon every Sunday. We also have our Monday edition, as well as last night. I don't know where the hell I ended up going, but somehow I ended up on Pop Culture Warrior, which we jokingly referred to as the Tuesday edition last week. But hey, I had a great time with CQ last night, and I'm glad that I was able to go ahead and hang out with him. But before we get going all the way through all of our things, I want to say hi to everybody out there over in the chats. It looks like Captain Wayne Baconegger is checking us out from YouTube tonight. I take it that your Facebook has gotten a little 30-day on Zuck, but it's great that you're showing up over here on YouTube for us. Oh my goodness, I cannot see it right up here. Yes, I am going to put his little thing up here. King's absence is felt. Checking us out on YouTube. King, yes, your absence is felt because, yeah, I'm here all the way up here through that. Yeah, you know, I ain't gonna lie with you, Captain Wayne. I do love talking through some wood. We got to keep a little bit of persona, a little bit of mystery behind the man who Coach really is. So I'm kind of glad that I'm brought to you by right behind the fence, and I'm glad that you all have made it out there for us for today. 7 p.m. out in Missouri. Yeah, I know we're talking about EPM Eastern time. But anyway, as I am coming along and as we are bringing it up, I wanted to talk to everybody today regarding the world of sports. And for all of us that know everything that was happening this past week, the big item that we all saw Sunday was the Super Bowl. And congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks and their quarterback, Sam Darnold, for winning the Super Bowl 29-13 over the New England Patriots. Now, many of us who saw the game saw that it was an uncompetitive mismatch and quite possibly one of the most boring games going up until the fourth quarter. In fact, it took us to the third quarter before we saw our first ever touchdown. We had 5 field goals missing out, and it looked like the kicker was going to be the greatest one ever to win and end up being the first kicker to win the MVP. But that being said, it didn't go out there. Sam Darnold, former New York Jets quarterback. Oh, my goodness gracious. Cannot believe this. Led Seattle to the Super Bowl victory. Super Bowl MVP was his running back, Kenneth Walker III, and I'm going to tell you that he had a phenomenal performance. If those of y'all that are like me that did not watch Seattle at the 4 o'clock games because, well, there was other greater games on, and Seattle was basically just on your feed over there for what was the name of that? The Red Zone channel. Yes. You saw a little bit of that. You did see a lot of Jackson Smith Najigba. See, I can pronounce it correct now, King, can't I? But you saw a lot of him, but you didn't see a lot of Kenneth Walker. And when I saw him during, great googly moogly, ladies and gentlemen, I lost power. Oh, fuck. Am I still online? Uh-oh. All right, y'all. Listen, literally, I have lost power in my house. I am hoping that I am still on my Wi-Fi right now. My Wi-Fi is showing up, but I have lost power in my house. This is no joke. If any of y'all are in the chats, can you still see me right now? Can any of y'all still see anything right now? I need you all in the chats real quick. All right, I'm still online. So something happened where all of my equipment ended up falling out. Oh, I thought I was offline there for a minute, y'all. Woo! All right. Hey, thank you all so much for that. And holy shit, I am now joined by King, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, King, how you doing, pal? I guess he can't hear me. All right, but ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear me, I can see King coming up here helping out. Hey, buddy, how are you doing today? So I'm glad that y'all can see me, and I guess that was my own fault with I can't believe I did this. I actually unplugged where all my lights are. I unplugged where everything else is, and I have everything on a backup. So thank God for that. I didn't pull out anything else. That would have been something if had I been on there. But hey, King, how you doing today, buddy? I can see you online. Are you joining us today?
I wanted to jump in as I saw your power go out, and I was like, oh, let me hop in. I still sound like crap. So if you've got things covered, I can hop out on the back end. There was some stuff I had to change title-wise because things didn't update properly. But y'all, I'm here. I'm alive. But I sound like a horse's ass right now. But Coach, if your Wi-Fi is holding up, I can still see and hear things great. So if you're good, I'm going to jump back out so I'm not sounding like
Brother, I'm good. I'm good. It was just, it really scared the shit out of me because not only did my upper light go off, but so did my computer monitor and so did my little green light over here that I use to kind of highlight, the background. That all three of them went off because the little patch that or not the little patch, the thing I have plugging in the wall, the extender thing, it fell, and it fell at just a part where it wasn't connecting anything.
Okay.
I still have Wi-Fi. I'm still up and running, and I'm running off my laptop, which thank God has got some battery. If I was on my tower, we'd be off, but I'm good,
All
brother.
right.
And I know you ain't feeling good, so yeah, I got you,
All
brother.
right, y'all.
Thanks for fixing that for me, King. Appreciate
Yes,
you,
sir.
buddy. All right. Hey, yep, and there we go. So King now still on the background, but off on the everything. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you all again for showing up, and sorry for a little bit of a technical issues that we had. But as we could see, I'm gonna put that one up there. Thank you, Captain Wayne. I can smell you through my screen, King. Great one out there. So thank you very much for that. But again, talking about the Super Bowl, Seattle beat New England 29-13. And with how great Seattle was, it does need to be mentioned that New England played their worst game of the season. The Seattle defense smothered them. I believe they had 7 sacks, 7 QB pressures, and 2 turnovers forced in the game, which was a phenomenal defensive, showing by Seattle. Drake May, as we have come to find out later on, has right before the Super Bowl had some discomfort in his shoulder and took a couple shots so that he can work through said discomfort. I had mentioned to you, everybody in the audience, and I had said that I believed Drake May was the MVP of the NFL this season. And although he did lose to Matthew Stafford by 1 vote, I still believe during the regular season he was the best player in the NFL. Unfortunately, he brought his team along, and he was injured throughout the entire playoffs. Luckily, had a very, I'm not going to say easy because NFL games are never easy, but had a easier path to the Super Bowl than Seattle had. And Drake May was able to take advantage of it, but then finally got caught up during that time that he ended up not looking as great as what he did. I can't remember his stat line, but his stat line was absolutely horrendous all the way up until the 4th quarter. In fact, if you actually look at the 4th quarter stats that Drake May had, it might have been one of the best 4th quarters or best quarters in the Super Bowl. But at that point, they were already down 22-0 when all the scoring started over on Seattle's time. So with Drake May, now his future is, how does he bounce back? Well, the first thing he's going to be talking about with bouncing back is actually not having any type of surgery and just trying to work through the pain that he had in his shoulder that hampered him during the Super Bowl. I don't know his body. I don't know how he's going to react. I just know that it's not you have a 50-50 chance when you're dealing with surgeries of whether or not it's going to aggravate some more. You can have an issue like Grant Hill, or you can have issues where all of a sudden that little thing is just freed everything up and you're performing a heck of a lot better. Drake May, very admirable during this year. And I'm going to say this as far as a run. You do that run because you don't know if you're ever going to have a chance to go back to the Super Bowl again. So I can understand his reasoning for doing so. But I believe Drake May needs to go ahead and fix whatever he can, with surgery be damned or not. He starts it earlier enough, he can get back to the season, and he can actually have all of, he can get back to the season and perform at the level that he was performing. But unfortunately, he didn't perform it on Sunday. And as we saw, Seattle took home. Now, I want to go ahead and say real quick, hey, what's up, Keith Miller? How you doing today? Thank you for the what's up there. Captain Wayne brings it on here. Then one day it'll be RoboCops versus the Terminator, or maybe the androids. I don't know. Sports are still played by persons. As long as they're not played by machines, I think everything will be okay, because machines can be corrupted. Machines can be hacked. But the same thing can also be said about people. But at least people, you have some type of human element that happens to it. There is nothing that we can, do regarding the androids or the Terminators in order to pull them, unless we hack into them, which that will be a little bit more of an issue. Regardless of what I'm talking about that, I want to say something and it's paining me to say this, but it is absolutely true. And congratulations to former New York Jets quarterback Sam Darnold. Yes, Sam Darnold, who in the either 2017 or 2018 draft was drafted by the New York Jets, goes to another team, goes through several other teams, makes himself a confident NFL quarterback. Wasn't even signed as a starter in Minnesota last year. He was going to back up J.J. McCarthy before J.J. got injured, and then Sam led them throughout a great run, and then led Seattle through a great run this year, and culminates in a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold has also mentioned that the struggles that he went through after being traded away from the Jets to Carolina, and then after being released from Carolina. And if you also remember, Sam Darnold was on the same team in Carolina as Baker Mayfield, and Baker has turned himself into a much better player as well. But afterwards, Sam ended up going to Seattle and was on that Seattle team, or not Seattle, excuse me, San Francisco, and was on that San Francisco team that lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. He was a backup for Brock Purdy. But that being said, with him being a backup, he actually learned in San Francisco from Kyle Shanahan on how to prepare for a game as an NFL quarterback, something that he did not learn throughout his entire tenure in the New York Jets, and especially in Carolina during that ridiculous season that they had with Frank Reich, I believe, was the coach at that point, or it might have been somebody else around there. But it didn't surprise me that it took a while, and it took a good coach, a good offensive coach like Kyle Shanahan, to show a good or a young quarterback how to properly prepare for a game in the NFL and how to properly read certain defenses and everything else. When he went to Minnesota to back up J.J. McCarthy, he was a much different quarterback than what we had known as Sam Darnold. We had known him as the bust of the New York Jets, seeing ghosts, and now we see him up Seattle as the Ghostbuster who brought Seattle its second Super Bowl championship. And by the way, that is one more Super Bowl championship than the New York Jets have had in the past 60 years. And just because I hate the Cowboys, it is two more championships than the Cowboys have had over the past 30 years. I wish King was here with this stream deck so that I can go ahead and just put that out for everybody. But unfortunately, it's not there from that. All right. And real quick, and thank you very much, King. I appreciate you on that. Drake May went... Bring that up right there from King. Drake May went 19 for 25 with 2 touchdowns and 235 yards with an interception and a fumble, and in the fourth quarter. That was his fourth quarter. That would have been an entire great game for a lot of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. But that was the fourth quarter for Drake May after an abysmal first 3 quarters. All right, and real quick with Captain Wayne, dinosaur clones versus Larry the Cable Guy clones with miniguns. Okay, I thought that said manginas. I don't know why the heck I would think about manginas, but it would have been, dinosaur clones. I mean, are we talking about the kind that, pull out the fans and spit at you? Are we talking velociraptors? Are we talking brontosauruses, rhinosauruses, stegosauruses, your sister's assasauruses? I'm trying to figure out which ones we're talking about, but as long as we can clone them, and I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Larry the Cable Guy, I really don't think would be able to help us out all that much. But hey, if in the case that he does help us out, all right, not a problem. But as we mentioned, when we were talking about the Super Bowl, that wasn't the big story. And we hinted about this last night on Pop Culture Warrior as well. The Super Bowl is part of pop culture. But the big hullabaloo coming out of the Super Bowl was the halftime show. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, the halftime show, in my opinion, was great. I enjoyed it. Okay. I had no idea what he was singing. I had no idea what he was saying whatsoever, but I enjoyed the spectacle of it. I enjoyed the dancers. I enjoyed especially the BBLs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Coach is a fan of the big booty Latinas. Okay, I will fully admit I am a fan of the big booty Latinas. All right. And there were plenty of big booty Latinas over there during that halftime show. I was rather happy that I saw that. And I would bring this up. I'm going to try to see if I can find something and somehow pull it up so that you all can see it. But the ratings came in regarding what was during the Super Bowl halftime, as well as what the Puppy Bowl ended up bringing. And then after that, we also saw that the Turning Point America alternate halftime show was seen by, maybe about a tenth of the audience that watched the Super Bowl halftime show. In fact, we go with the Super Bowl ratings, and as we looked at it, 120, no, excuse me, I take that back. I was going to say 27, but yes, it's not that. 124.9 million viewers on NBC, Peacock, Telemundo, NBC Sports Digital, and NFL Plus watched the Super Bowl halftime show with Bad Bunny performing. Now, this did not break the record, as last year 127.7 million watched the Super Bowl halftime show between the Eagles and the Super Bowl of halftime of Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do want to bring up that there was a peak of 128.2 million during that halftime show of Bad Bunny, which ranks fourth all time behind Lamar Kendrick, Michael Jackson, and Usher. Okay. And Michael Jackson still performing that from 1993, 133.4 million. That's a ton of respect. Yes, numbers have skewed a little regarding what how we consume our media and how we consume our sports, but still 125 million, we call it. We're watching Bad Bunny perform at halftime. In fact, it even got pretty cool. Did you know that the Puppy Bowl? Oh yes, the Puppy Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. They had 15 million viewers during the Puppy Bowl. And I also love the fact that during the Puppy Bowl, DC decided to drop another teaser trailer of Supergirl. Yes, that was a nice one. And of course, it had to do with whatever they call that dog. I can't remember the dog's name. But whatever the heck, Crypto or whatever the heck that thing is. But the dog was part of the commercial during the Puppy Bowl, and you got to see Millie Alcock once again dressed up as Supergirl. And not going to say that, I'm going to say it's not a bad thing to look at, but between them and the big booty Latinas, it's a coin flip of what I would prefer to look at. But Turning Point America, yes, with a lip-syncing pre-recorded Kid Rock, ba with the ba, the bang a dang, diggy diggy diggy, said the buggy, said up jump the boogie, only saw at its peak 5.5 million viewers. Regardless of what was being put out and what platform you were looking at, you had 25 times the viewers watching Bad Bunny than you did to White Trash Jesus, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. If you argued with anybody, and I am going to put a definitive end to this right now, as the crackerest cracker that is on your screen at this moment. If you had a problem with the halftime show because it wasn't in English or it wasn't done by an American, then you, my sir, or my ma'am, are an absolute inbred imbecile. Yes, I am calling you a fucking moron. All right? I can't be any more blunt than that. Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. Rihanna isn't a U.S. citizen. You loved her several years ago when she was pregnant on top of a platform. U2, right after September 11th, they're from fucking Ireland. All right? Be as blunt as we want to be. You did that because you are being warped by people who do not understand what they're talking about. And if we want to call it racism, you can call it racism. I'm calling it ignorance. Those of you, well, thank you, Steve. I will go ahead and I will fix that flag the next time that I'm out, but good for you to look for that, and thank you for bringing that up. But I will go ahead and I will say this to you. If you think that watching Bad Bunny was bad and you were doing your American duty by watching Kid Rock lip sync during the halftime of the Super Bowl, well, ladies and gentlemen, you are dumber than the dog shit that is in my backyard. Okay. And if you've got a problem with that, well, then the exit door is over there to the left. You can stop watching the show and you can get the fuck off of my timeline. You can get the fuck off of King's timeline, and you can get the fuck off of WTF Nation's timeline, because we don't accept that type of ignorance regarding that. Okay. Our fellow brothers and sisters from Puerto Rico, I have served along many of them. My first ever platoon sergeant was a guy by the name of Hector Laureano. And I'm going to tell you, that man was more Puerto Rican than Puerto Rico himself. Was one of the best leaders that I have ever met. And I will tell Jefe that to this day, that he was one of the people that helped me when I was a young soldier. And to hear the stupidity and the hatred coming from those that had served around him, or those that had supported him and thanked him for the service because, well, you know, Bad Bunny doesn't speak English and this is a Super Bowl, an American pastime. Well, you're as ignorant as the KKK, my friend. All right? Go back, go sniff each other's cornholes, you know, inhale some meth, and do us all a favor. Get off of social media, shove your phones up your asses, and go touch some sand. All right? Yes, that is what's up. All right, so I'm going to just, at this point right now, bring up somebody who is up there. Oh, you two may be from Ireland, but we don't say that in Ireland. They're aliens to us. Well, if U2 is not considered aliens over into them, well, then I am not abreast in my Irish culture, and I will go ahead and I will say that I apologize about that. But yes, and if I am miseducated regarding U2 and Bono and The Edge, well, that's good, because to be honest with you, I hate U2. I think their music sucks. First off, uno, dos, tres, 14. No. It's uno, dos, tres, cuatro, not 14. You don't go all the way to 14. And fuck you. This is a place called Vertigo. No, I've never been a fan of U2's music. And I also think that Bono is a walking, 22 Keurig, 6 foot tall, piece of dookie. Thank you very much, South Park, for that. Real quick, going to Captain Wayne again. I hate Sherwin-Williams babies from Cletus and Velveeta. Wonder what we're talking about there. Are you talking about the people that are so white that they would disappear inside of a turkey sandwich on white bread with mayo? And yep, absolutely. I can kind of understand that. Steve McKee, thank you very much for telling me again, my flag is hanging incorrectly. I will tell you that nobody has mentioned that before. Honest to God. And I've had this up here for 5 months now, and nobody said a word about the flag hanging incorrectly. So I will keep that going out there. All right. But ladies and gentlemen, as we are done with that and we're coming up, I want to bring up one thing before we move away from the Super Bowl, and that is our way, way, way too early Super Bowl picks for Super Bowl 61. Now, as a New York Jets fan, I have already concluded to myself that the New York Jets have been eliminated from the playoffs. They don't even have to wait to kickoff. We already know that they're going to have the number one pick in the 2027 NFL draft. So I have already eliminated the New York Jets. And just for shits and giggles' sake, I have already eliminated the Cleveland Browns. And I say that because, well, yeah, they're not going to be getting anybody either, and they're just as bad as the Jets. So looking through the NFL and how we're going to be stacked up regarding 2026, I do want to bring a way, way, way too early prediction regarding several teams. Now, I will say that the maturation of these players are paramount for these teams to make the Super Bowl. I have seen it, and we have seen it within several of our quarterbacks that we've had. And we have seen this through a lot of different people that, during the season, you have to progress, you have to mature. In the second season to the third season, Patrick Mahomes became a Super Bowl contending quarterback. Once he matured into a Super Bowl winning quarterback, then that's when the great Patrick Mahomes came through. It took Sam Darnold almost 5 years to mature as a quarterback, but he also had a great team around him. Now, I'm looking at players that have maturation and can still improve, but also have great teams around them, and it brings up to the player that I believe could have been in the Super Bowl had he not been injured. That is Mr. Bo Nix, and that is the Denver Broncos. So the coach, as painful as it's coming to sound, is actually going to select the Denver Broncos as the AFC champion for the Super Bowl. And for next year, the NFC, I can see it a little bit being more wide open. I am early, and bringing up another quarterback who has a great team around him, but can take the steps to actually become an elite quarterback, which is something this franchise has never had. This franchise has never had a 4,000-yard passer in over 100 years. And I think Caleb Williams will be able to do that with the Chicago Bears. So my way too early prediction for Super Bowl 61, and I believe it's in SoFi in LA, is that we will see the matchup of the Chicago Bears going against the Denver Broncos. Y'all can go ahead and host that, clip that, and put that in there. And if I'm right this time next year, well, you can go, I'll go ahead and I'll take all my adorations. If I am way off next year, then do the same thing and say, Coach, you're an absolute fucking moron. It's not the worst I've ever been called, so I will definitely take that. Captain Wayne, real quick, the Chiefs are probably going to get stacked again, most likely. I got, and especially since Mahomes got injured terribly, we'll add that up there. And then Mr. King is back into the chats on the bottom. Chiefs won't be 1 or 2 in their division next year. And King, I have to agree with you. I don't believe there will be 1 or 2 again in their division. So they're going to be better than the Raiders. They're definitely not going to be better than Denver next year. And who's the other one in that team? Oh, the San Diego Superchargers. Well, Mr. Justin Herbert has some maturation that he needs to do. In fact, Justin Herbert needs to win a playoff game. And I think San Diego is the purgatory of the NFL. They're just good enough to make the playoffs, or they're just good enough to miss the playoffs. And when they make it, they don't do anything. I mean, they're stuck in that little Pittsburgh rut that Pittsburgh was in before Mike Tomlin was fired. Speaking of Mike Tomlin being fired, I will also put a very, very, very early prediction. King, if you're there, clip this one. Mike Tomlin will be the New York Jets head coach in 2027, and the entire organization will be uprooted, remade, and the losing mentality that has been around since Rex Ryan left the organization will finally be lifted. Okay, I am bringing it that way. The Jets have not been bad since Rich Kotite, and I didn't think they would be this bad after Todd, whatever the hell his name is, after freaking Adam Gase, after Robert Saleh. But man, Aaron Glenn, you do not know how to coach. You have hopefully you have a whole new coaching staff, and I don't think your whole new coaching staff is going to help you be a better game decision maker, which you proved that you were inept at doing during last year. So that's my OS up there. Yes, Coach Mike Tomlin. Here, put that up right there. Mike Tomlin will be the 2027 New York Jets head coach. You're hearing it right here from Coach. I'm keeping it up right there for you. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, moving off the Super Bowl and finally getting off of that, I want to bring up a little bit of a breaking news. And unfortunately, it doesn't have to do with actual play. It has to do with non-play. And earlier today, the Los Angeles Lakers announced that LeBron James was not going to be partaking in several of the games, meaning that he will miss 18 games this season, thus being ineligible for any of the All-NBA teams, as he did not play the required number of games in order to do that. He could play every other game for the rest of the year, and it still would not matter. He will be ineligible for an All-NBA team, which will be the first time in 21 seasons that LeBron James will not make an All-NBA team. We are talking 21 seasons. And as I look back 21 years ago, while he is in 23, the second year in the league, going all the way up to his second to last year in the league. He's bookended by his rookie season and what could also possibly be his last season, which is a phenomenal feat for a man who is 4 years younger than me at 41 years old, still playing, although sparingly because Bronny is on the team, with his own kid in the highest level of competitive basketball, and has done so for that long of a time period. Now, we've, in my lifetime, have seen unbelievable players like Barry Lamar Bonds, Tom Brady, Derek Sanderson Jeter. Yes, I keep him up right there. And we have seen King James. King James is that generational player. I wish there would have been an official torch passed between him and MJ during a game, but we never saw that because the year that LeBron was drafted was the same year that Michael hung it up for the third time with the Washington Wizards. I still will argue till the death of me that Michael Jordan is going to be the greatest, but a very close second is LeBron James. And I'm saying that during a time where guys like Kevin Durant, Tim Duncan, and Steph Curry were actually a little bit more, well, I would say that shared equal footing with LeBron James during his career. You know, the greatest power forward, the greatest three-point shooter, and one of the greatest freak scorers to ever show up in the NBA, all played while King James was at his peak. And I'm not going to say that there hadn't been back and forth belows, but let's just say that it's around a 50, if not, less than that King James was successful out of it. Michael Jordan did not lose against the likes of Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Magic Johnson. When he finally got over the hump with the Detroit Pistons, there was nothing that stopped him other than himself and his own retirement. Okay. And the one bit that did blow up, I can bring up something here regarding sneakers and all of that, but the one time that you can pick to him stopping was in 1995, 18 games after he unretired and said that he was back after playing baseball. LeBron James is one of the pillars, one of the greatest athletes that we have had the privilege to see. It is not fun to see a player descend during his last seasons. We look at Tom Brady, 7 of the Super Bowls, and remember that he won a Super Bowl in his second to last season. But if we do remember the last season of Tom Brady's career, he was barely able to throw a pass over 8 yards and have their receivers take out yards after catches. He needed that help, and Father Time is going to be that great equalizer. Regardless of what happens, you end up catching out, and Father Time will surpass you. Father Time is catching up to King James. He's catching up to him after a marathon of a career. And it is a little sad to see, but it is inevitable. It will be inevitable through everybody that it will happen. For those of you that were wondering why, I'm talking about a couple other people that have retired on top, well, we also remember that John Elway and Peyton Manning, both of them retired right after winning their second Super Bowls. But also a lot of us forget that those last seasons that Elway and Manning, before they went on top, were statistically some of the worst that they had. Peyton Manning had less yards in that Super Bowl win than Drake May did in that blowout loss. Yeah, Sam Darnold actually did better than him. It was that Denver defense that did phenomenal against Carolina and, really screwed around Cam Newton that got him his second Super Bowl victory. So while we look at everything, and we do have to pull a little bit of applause on it, let's take some appreciation for what LeBron James is. LeBron James has the Iron Man, is the best way I can call it, is the Iron Man of the NBA. He did it longer than absolutely everybody else, and he did it at such a high level from everybody. And his peaks rivaled the greatest peaks of players throughout the entire history of the NBA. And he had multiple and elongated stretches where he was one of the top 5, if not top 3 players in the game playing. But there's only one greatest. And that, my friend, is the man who is behind these 2s that you are seeing in front of me. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I got a new pair of Jordans. These are the Jordan 2 Union LAs, the holiday 2021s. And you know what? I don't see anybody out there collecting LeBrons. I do know people that collect Jordans. I being one of them that collect Jordans. Let me get that from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I see a couple of people right here. Captain Wayne, I see all of your chats on there. I know we're talking about Kansas City and everything else that's happening. And by the way, it would be nice. In fact, something I will bring up. We're not going to be having a lot of sports being played between now and, the beginning of baseball season. And King, I'm going to try as hard as I can to make sure King doesn't talk about the fucking WNBA. One, we should be talking about college baseball, but I want to bring up about the movement of Kansas City, because it's not only the Kansas City Chiefs that might be moving, but I understand that the Royals might be moving from their location in Arrowhead and Dagon Kauffman Stadium. Both of them share a parking lot and are in that same area. But I also want to talk about the changes regarding future stadiums and certain things like that. I think that'll be an interesting topic for us to bring up. Seeing that King wants to be a wise ass in the chat. What does Coach think about the WNBA? There, ladies and gentlemen, Coach's official statement about the WNBA. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. We're going to stop talking about the WNBA. In fact, I am now going to bring up, an even worse topic than the WNBA. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the dating lives of professional athletes. And I'm not worried about Cardi B and Stephon Diggs, the baby mama drama at the Super Bowl, and now they both unfollow each other. Nah, that's not for my sophistication. You see, I'm more worried about those that are the greatest of all time and those that are going to be going through a potential car crash. I say pun intended with this car crash, because the newest power couple within the sporting world is Denver Broncos minority owner and Ferrari F1 team driver, 7-time world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton, has been spotted not just at the Super Bowl, but on the streets of Monaco with the greatest gold digger that has ever lived within our generation. The other big booty, well, she ain't a big booty Latina, whatever the hell she is, but she definitely got a big booty. The one, the only, Miss Kim Kardashian. Oh, great goodness almighty. Oh, those Kardashians collect as many athletes as they can, like Infinity Stones. And just like the Infinity Stones, they go ahead and they bring out terror and onto everybody that they snap it on, okay? And Kim Kardashian has now taken to the fastest growing sport and the world's most popular driver. I say world's most popular driver. We'll talk about NASCAR later, and you know the inbreeding rednecks that drive there. But the most popular driver worldwide is Sir Lewis Hamilton. After a terrible season at Ferrari where he didn't get a single podium but had a surprise victory during a sprint, which is basically like winning, being undefeated in the preseason or winning the NBA Cup and not making the playoffs, now goes to daggone Kim Kardashian. All right. But there has been a precedence before of Sir Lewis Hamilton with celebrity dates. In fact, Nicole Schlesinger of the Put Dolls was famously in his garage when Sir Lewis Hamilton, in his second season at McLaren, won the F1 championship as Timo Glock lost power around the last turn in Brazil and finished 5th place, thus securing the championship for Sir Lewis Hamilton. But that being said, there was, man, oh man, I get it that, sometimes women, in the words of what's his name from Rocky, women weaken legs. What was his name? Damn it, I can't remember his trainer's name right now. Okay, and that's gonna please put it in the chats if you got that. I can't remember what's it called, Rocky's trainer's name right now, but women weaken legs. And well, Sir Lewis Hamilton needs his legs in order to press on the gas as well as the brake pedals, and unfortunately they are definitely going to be weakened because, man, oh man, how do you go to that car crash? All right, part of me realizes that there's always going to be evil forces that are at work, ones that everybody is going to know that is never a good idea. Like, Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston, we knew that that was not a match that was ever going to end well, and it definitely didn't end well, okay? We all saw, how certain other things were going to end bad regarding like T.O. in Philadelphia and A.J. Brown with other places. And, well, let me be as current as I can. We all knew it was going to be an absolute abortion when the New York Jets got Aaron Rodgers and redid the entire team around there because, the Jets are just going to be the Jets and Aaron Rodgers is himself. But man, oh man, has there never been an entire family that every athlete should stay away from than the Kardashians. Between Chris Humphries, between Reggie Bush, as well as Lamar Odom, every single one of their careers took a stiff decline after being introduced to Bruce Jenner's kids. I'm sorry, Caitlyn Jenner's kids, or whatever the hell his kids' names are. Man, oh man, I feel bad for Lewis Hamilton. And if my cousin Ben is watching this over in England, I am sorry that your favorite driver has now become a parody act and will no longer win a race over in F1. My suggestion would be to go with either Sir George, And yes, I am pushing my hands out there. Or go ahead and root for Lando Norris. They're both fellow Brits and countrymen, so I hope that happens. For me, we don't have an America, but we do have an American team in Cadillac, and I wish they would finally put an American driver out there. And before they do, I think in 2027, you're actually going to see an American driver by the name of Patricio O'Ward driving in Formula One. That's coming up for me from that. But regardless, let's move back away from Formula One. And I'm going to bring up a couple more topics before we wrap this up this evening. And that is one of the greatest things that happens every year right around this time after the football season. And pitchers and catchers are reporting to spring training. Oh, man, years ago, this was always that little bright sunshine moments. You looked at it, pitchers and catchers reporting. It made you anticipate the baseball season, knowing that 6 more weeks, you're going to have opening day across Major League Baseball. And a 162-game marathon will commence that will end in October. But like many baseball fans that are around the nation today, unfortunately, you're not going to be seeing a lot of spring training. You're also not going to be seeing a lot of your Major League Baseball teams, as the regional sport networks have now messed up so bad and are so underneath money without any of these people, paying their cable bills, that they have missed payments to these Major League Baseball teams. And Major League Baseball has taken over the broadcasting rights to 9 of the 30 Major League Baseball teams. Now, what does that mean to the everyday teams? Well, let me bring up a great team in the St. Louis Cardinals. Proud history, but has unfortunately fallen on hard times. For the past several years, the fans in St. Louis have not been able to watch their team on a local regional sports network because the broadcasting rights were shifted to another one that doesn't broadcast on the main cable companies inside St. Louis. Yeah, that's a little awkward, isn't it? Well, that regional sports network has now gone belly up. And with Major League Baseball coming out from that, the St. Louis Cardinals are now taking almost a $20 million income hit by not having their regional sports networks pulled out. They're going to be getting another rate from Major League Baseball, but that rate is also going to be shared with another 8 teams. So they're going to be losing $20 million in income, and that's going to affect itself on the playing field. There's going to be a lot of teams that this year, because of the closing of these regional sports networks, that they are going to have a lower payroll. It's going to affect their game day performance, but it's also going to put a little bit more emphasis on getting people into the stands. Baseball has done as much as it can to get more people back into the stands over the past 5 years after decades and decades of turning it more into a bore fest for anybody who watches or attends the games live. Now, the results haven't been astronomical like it did after 1998 with the home run chase. Fans did not come back after COVID in the same manner that Major League Baseball would have loved to have done. In fact, it did peak after the cabin fever wore off, but once the cabin fever wore off, it started to decline, and it hasn't kept its upward progression. So Major League Baseball finds itself in a very precarious situation. The haves, the LA Dodgers, the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the teams that bring in their own money will still be the ones that will be by far the World Series contenders. And there are teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, like the Oakland Athletics, like the Tampa Bay Rays, like several other teams, the White Sox and the Twins and etc., that when opening day comes, they have no chance. They will have no chance to play in the postseason, even with the extended postseason. We have 7 teams making it. And thus is going to cause something that a lot of us in 2027 are not looking forward to, and that is a prolonged lockout or strike with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is the last sport to operate without a salary cap. Okay. And I'm not including NASCAR in this, but even Formula One has a salary cap and a salary floor that everybody has to pay. The NBA has had that for a while, and while it is a soft cap with the bird exemptions and with how astronomical it has been to re-sign players, habitually teams go over the cap. But they do pay a tax to that, and there is a salary floor, which not many teams, don't miss the salary floor. The salaries are inflated enough where you keep that. But you guys do wonder where that tax goes? I've got 4 letters for you, especially in the NBA. That tax goes to these 4 dirty letters: WNBA. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's where that tax is going. And luxury taxes that go with Major League Baseball from teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Cubs. Well, they're going to these poverty franchises like the A's, like the Pirates, but all they're doing is not being invested back into their teams because there is no salary floor in Major League Baseball. So we are going to see a very, very prolonged labor holdout after this 2026 season, which will most likely end with the Dodgers winning their 3rd straight championship and becoming the first team since the 1998 through 2000 New York Yankees to win 3 championships in a row. All of us baseball fans, the ones that grew up with this, business of the sport has taken itself over from that fan experience. What happened, and as we look back on it 33 years later, it didn't do, or 32 years later, it did irreparable damage to some of the older fans. Now I am one of those older fans. And if in 2026 and 2027, the business of baseball continues to do damage around there, I'm hoping that I do not turn into those fans that did not come back after the MLB strike. And let's just also remember one other thing. The main thing that brought those fans back after the strike was aided greatly by the use of anabolic steroids and the heroic out-of-mind feats done by Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa in the summer of 1998. The same season that the New York Yankees won 114 games, won the World Series, and declared themselves as the greatest team in Major League Baseball history. Yes, I still will root for the Yanks, regardless of what I have. And by the way, hey, look, Coach does have hair, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, I am a Yankee fan, true and true. I will still pull for the Yankees, even though I believe Hal Steinbrenner and Hank Steinbrenner are by far worst owners that they have in Major League Baseball. Captain Wayne Baconator, I am thanking you for everything that you've got inside over here in the chats. Real quick, I'm going to go up Insomniac James, wishing King, hope that he feels better soon, putting that up there. And real quick, I'm going to bring up what Captain Wayne puts. I'm going to miss baseball games back in the day and playing baseball, or you missed them. It's like kids. Okay, and I'm going to bring that up. It's like kids just don't care anymore about outside sports usually. Yeah, there is a bit of a change, and, this bad boy has done something to it, as well as video games has done certain things to pull that out. But I will mention that there are still a lot of people that are playing those sports. There are still, we might not see it because, well, our kids don't do it, but it's not that it's not there. My nephew, his name is Ethan. He is a sophomore this year. And all throughout his life with his father, as well as with his grandfather, my brother-in-law who passed away, was always playing baseball and was always golfing and was outside doing that. And while, some of the training happens inside during the winter, I will tell you that boy was outside and had more of a farmer tan than any time that I'd seen it. And I'm coming from a baseball family. I've got 3 I've got two pitchers in my family. Me, I was a second baseman. My brother was an outfielder. My other brother was an outfielder and a first baseman. And I can tell you that, there are still people that do that. It's a little bit more specialized right now. It's not free roaming kids, but there is supervision kids that are doing it. Maybe free roaming kids need to come back. We need to have more feral children. That, I believe, would actually be a lot better for a lot of us if we just let our kids be feral and try to grow themselves. I know that my kids, now that my oldest has already moved out of the house, but my youngest, who is not even 20, he was one of those typical stay-at-home kids and got around the computer and just played Minecraft and Roblox and all of that stuff growing up. But something happened to him after he got his freedom, where he turned 18 and he didn't have to be around the house, and he started exploring things outside. And now my son is outdoors more in his Jeep more than he was ever around in the house. He doesn't want to be behind his computer anymore playing games. He's going to the gym. He's out there hanging out and having fun, but he's doing a lot of hiking. He's doing a lot of fishing. He's doing some outdoor stuff. There is a big thing with our society where separating us from this is what is going to absolutely get you all taken off from that. So, and by the way, yes, if I do keep that QR screen on the phone, if you could scan that, I'm going to tell you it would be a great thing for y'all to scan. Not going to mention about what organization it is that this goes to, but I think you might know who that might be. Anyway, as we are wrapping it up, I cannot believe that one. And yeah, Ethan's awesome, man. I'll tell you, if you, I might bring him up during the season. I'll see how he does during this season, and might bring up some information about him a little bit. But we're going to go on to the last topic of the night, and I want to thank everybody who has watched the show so far. I want to thank you all for not only just being out here with us on this Wednesday evening, but joining me on a show where, I wasn't prepared to go solo until about a couple hours before, and kind of had to make this up on a fly. I do pretty well coming up on the fly, between here and last night being on Pop Culture Warrior with CQ. Very appreciative. In fact, actually, I really want to take this out. I don't know if King's still online, but maybe we can get a little bit of a clip. I really do want to thank the guys who are in charge and helping running the station, CQ and ICE and Mom and everybody who's working behind the scenes. I want to thank you all for the great hard work that you guys are doing, the opportunities that you're giving a lot of us, myself, King, Dr. J, Radar, even though he's taking a little hiatus right now, but, and y'all, of course, but giving all of us the opportunity to, let us express ourselves on a platform that has a very wide reach across YouTube, X, Facebook, across a page that has 1.8 million followers. That is, I bring something up around social media followers. Yeah, it might not be worth a grain of salt, but I want to bring this up. Barrett Media did a what's it called, a rankings for the greatest different shows that national shows and things like that. And a show that I used to listen to, national show on Sirius XM radio, is called Busted Open, with Dave LaGreca, Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer, Thunder Rosa, Nick Namath, who used to be Dolph Ziggler, several other wrestlers that are on that show. And they ranked about 15th nationally as a national sports show. Obviously, Pat McAfee did a great job, but their social media following, their numbers across X and Facebook and YouTube and all that, we dwarf them. Okay, they don't have the reach that U.S. Army WTF Moments has, and we're gaining momentum on the WTF Nation Radio. So, for all the hard work that everybody did that's associated with this station, with all the hard work and the dedication that everybody on the main page on WTF Nation, on U.S. Army WTF Moments has put in, for all the past work from the founders, from everybody. I want to thank you all for, your hard work, from all the great hosts that came up before, like you guys haven't seen Pookie on for a while. We haven't seen Kaz on in a bit. You guys laid the groundwork. Red Leg, you guys laid the groundwork for us to have this outlet to express what we do and talk about what we like, and giving us a great platform with great reach for everybody. So my flowers out to y'all for this one. This isn't kissing ass or anything else like that. I'm not going to go ahead and do anything about there. I'm going to bring up some of y'all's comments real quick about that one. King did want to bring up here his own little bit. Big shout out to all of the staff and viewers at WTF Nation Radio, especially the viewers. I do appreciate you all out of that. Okay, I do appreciate you all out of that one. Colonel Edward Haynes puts down Dustin Dixon, the Lakeside Warriors. Let me see where you're going there. The Riverband Patriots. Do we take guests? Well, we do, but where you do would need to contact us, just go ahead and message us on our WTF Nation radio page, or message us on the Sports Bar Facebook page. We can go ahead and talk about that one. Captain Wayne, please stay marvelous, as my great grandpa would say. Appreciate that. And then, yes, great guys and girls, great human beings. Those are all those people that we have, that we were bringing up, that I had talked about on there. So real quick, want to go into the last thing, because, we talked about sports that will be happening. We're talking about what did happen, but I am going to do a quick preview of, yes, ladies and gentlemen, buggity. Let's go racing, boys. Yes, this Sunday, the Great American Race comes back on Fox at 3 p.m. when a bunch of people who watch the Turning Point USA halftime show will now move into their second favorite sport to gripe and moan about, much like they did about Bad Bunny's halftime show. And yes, that is NASCAR. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the Daytona 500. It still kind of is a little weird that the biggest race of the NASCAR season is the first race. And the reason why it is because it was the original super speedway. 2.5 miles, speeds up to 200 miles an hour. Daytona is the unofficial home of NASCAR. In fact, if you would kind of give it their headquarters, they have two of them. Charlotte as well as Daytona are the two headquarters for NASCAR. A lot of the teams are based in Charlotte, but a lot of the headquarters is based over there in Daytona. So to have the biggest race of their season be the first one, that is something unique to NASCAR. Does that mean that it's, does any deterioration? No, not really. I mean, Indy doesn't end on the Indy 500. Formula One doesn't end in Monaco. The World Endurance Championship doesn't, end at Le Mans or any of the other races that they host. So to have the opening race be the biggest race of your season, man, it's all right. Because you know what the winner is going to take home this year? The purse for the winner will be close to $31 million. It was announced by NASCAR. That is what the winner of the Daytona 500 will take home. Now, I think that they're releasing the money figures out because of everything that happened in the offseason, where Michael Jordan took them to court and had a whole bunch of black eyes given right to NASCAR, their leadership, and the way that the business is conducted. So what we're looking at this year for NASCAR is hopefully the beginning of their redemption arc. If you don't excuse me, I got to go ahead and take a quick drink real quick. Sorry. Excuse me. You all ever get to that point where you talk too much and then like your entire mouth just gets completely dry? That's what happened to me right there. So sorry for taking that drink. But as we talk about the Daytona 500, I want to bring up that the Daytona 500 with NASCAR this season, a lot of rule changes have come around. It used to be the chase for the playoffs, which started in 2014 or 2015. And while it was good for maybe 1 or 2 seasons, it had not only run its course, it had actually delegitimized the NASCAR championship. In fact, there are plenty of people that for the last several races of the 2023 season through the 2025 season did not think that the championship was legitimate because of who won it and how they ended up winning. I don't blame them whatsoever. Joey Logano's wins and his championships were, well, let's just say not too inspiring. Nobody remembers who won the last race of the year, and we all remember what happened, and nobody even knows who won the championship. Nobody remember who won the championship 2 years ago, 3, 4. Nobody quite cares about that. Before, everybody can kind of mention about who won. But the way that the championship was decided, where a win and you're in, and you have to have 3 separate rules and playoff points, there was so much convolution within NASCAR's playoffs that it confused the average, we'll call them the casual viewer. Those that are NASCAR fans, true NASCAR fans, would tune in regardless of that. But there was a growing number of people that were getting that were not liking the results that they were seeing, were not liking the type of racing that they were seeing, and we're not liking the outcomes and the presentation of how NASCAR had been. And that's a deadly combination when you have a lot of different negatives that swirl around your sport and you're doing nothing to prove them positive. In fact, NASCAR at one point had dug in and were trying to be stubborn without any types of changes. So for this year, for 2026, there are 2 big changes that came around. First was regarding the playoffs that they're calling it, which is no longer considered the playoffs, and there shouldn't be playoffs in racing, but they're bringing back what is called the chase for the championship. The first 26 races will determine the top 16 in points. The top 16 finishers after 26 races will go into a 10-race championship where all of the points accumulated during that time will be added together, and whoever wins out of those top 16 racers will be crowned the championship. It also gives I'm going to say there is an advantage from those that finish first after 26 races to those that finish 16th in 26 races. You start the chase with 100 additional points above 16th place. In fact, you have a 25 point advantage from first place to second place within that playoff system. So that is one of the great things that are coming back. It simplifies what is happening with the car. It is simplifying the rules so that the casual fans can bring that back up. And it does a determination of who is better not only during the season, but is also better during that 10-race playoff. It was brought away because too many people thought that Jimmy Johnson was winning it just between there. But even if they did a season-long points race, Jimmy Johnson would have ended up winning it in a lot of those situations. The second part that they did with NASCAR is something that a lot of fans have been bringing up, but I still think needs to be done more, and that is a 50 horsepower increase on the engines. You're not going to see that as what is a 50 horsepower added onto the engine going to do? Well, it's not going to do much in these long super speedway races. It's not going to do all of that much on the intermediates, which have been doing great on racing, but it's going to do more on the short track. These are the tracks that are less than a mile long, where we have 40 cars bumping and grinding into each other. Due to the lack of power within the modern Gen 7 NASCAR models that they are racing right now, the short track racing has become unbearably bad, where passes only occur when people are underneath the pits, and there was no chances of any type of passing because there wasn't any power going to the cars. Now there's a little bit more power going to the cars, but there is, and with a lot of people, the pundits as well as the drivers, noting that that little increase in power is not going to do much to help with passing and to help with actual competitive racing. It won't be doing anything to help them on those short tracks because there still is not enough power like there had been back in the day. Now, granted, NASCAR is in a terrible predicament because NASCAR not only fights it to try to appease the fans, but NASCAR, much like F1, also has to appease environmentalists. If anybody ever looked at the footprint and the carbon footprint that is put out, sports throughout all the sports, you'd be very surprised how much NASCAR's carbon footprint has been, impacting the environment. So to lower the horsepower and to not utilize as much fuel as possible is a fight that they're going to have to go to. And unfortunately, unlike Formula One, where they're gonna have sustainable fuels, NASCAR is not going to be anywhere around sustainable fuels or even going electric during any of the cars. Even while IndyCar goes to a hybrid system, as well as Formula One onto a hybrid system, NASCAR will still be straight fuel injection and will still use that. And like I said, tear up the environment pretty bad. But with the cars adding a little bit more horsepower, hopefully a little bit better short track racing, which will address, just a couple of the problems that NASCAR faces. But their road to redemption starts this upcoming Sunday. I'm looking forward to it because, I'm a NASCAR fan. I want to see how they do. And to be quite honest with you, I am also an agent of chaos. What do I mean by an agent of chaos? I want to see Bubba Wallace win. Mainly because every single one of the people that turned into the Turning Point USA are most likely the same ones that are going to turn into the freaking Daytona 500 and watch it. And those of you that are turning into the Daytona 500 to watch it absolutely hate Bubba Wallace. And you know why they do? It's because he's different. Yes, it's true. It's because he's different. They don't want to mention it. They'll make up excuses for it. And I just want Bubba Wallace to succeed, to basically give the big FU to a whole bunch of people who not only talk like this, but also, listen to ba with a ba, the bang a dang, diggy diggy diggy, said the buggy, said up jump the boogie. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go ahead and give up a couple of things real quick for we want to bring that up for anybody who has guest submissions. I'd like you to go ahead and email CQ at WTFNationRadio.com. He will route you to the proper show guests and will route you to our ways to get guests and potential guests onto them. Start the communication and you can get them onto any of our shows. If you know people, regardless of whether it's sports, if you know people within the military, if you know military supporters, those even people dealing who work in the mental health fields or veterans that that are giving back to the community. If you've got people that you would like to, think would be great guests on WTF Nation Radio, well, give an email out to CQ and CQ at WTFNationRadio.com. And we will go ahead and we will follow up on that real quick. Colonel Edward Haynes, raise hell, praise Dale. Yep. And you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of these on lap number 3. And Captain Wayne Baconator, I got to go chew on this poop fuel. Stay amazing. Captain Wayne, thank you very much for showing up over here. I see you on the other shows and kind of glad that you're coming in on this one with me out there. I know King's somewhere still in the background right now and might have a couple of, little things. But King, I know I don't see David Cunningham up here in the chats, and we normally go to him for that last little line. But before the last little line, I'm actually going to defer to you this time, King, as I'm signing off for everybody. So if you have any last words, King, please go ahead and put that to the chat. I'll go ahead and bring that up. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. You're just going to get on to the freaking
I'll
get
do.
on and put your last little words in. Rooney, go right ahead, buddy.
I'll do you one even better. I will pop up. Want to thank, like Coach expressed earlier, we've been doing this for a while now, and I enjoy being a part of the WTF Nation Radio team. I would do this whether we had 1 viewer or 1,000 live concurrent viewers, regardless. But y'all do make this fun. So to all of the viewers out there, thank you, and I give a salute from this veteran to y'all, and I appreciate you. Stay tuned.
Thank you, King. Appreciate you being there and helping me out behind the scenes. This is only the second show I've kind of run as solo, and it's kicking off the boots. I mean, I used to do it on a different platform on a previous version of the show. In fact, if you're still one of the people who are watching us on the Sports Bar Facebook page who used to watch us there on the other show, you might have gotten the subtle references that I dropped during the thing, and might also want to talk about the omission of the person who I left out of there. And if that's the case, well, don't give a flying fuck. You people are goddamn liars. All right. Anyway, yeah, I'll stay salty out of there. But regardless of that, for all of you that tuned in this evening, thank you very much. For those of you that are tuning in just to hate watch, well, guess what? My numbers are better than your numbers. Thank you very much for supporting my numbers. I know that sounds a little cocky, but yeah, it's okay. To everybody that I want everybody, if you can, please enjoy your sports, enjoy them the best way you can. Enjoy what you have as long as it doesn't make a nuisance to you or to other people about it. And hope everybody here has an amazing week. We will see you next week on the Sports Bar. Hopefully King will be okay after that. And he'll be back up and running. And this way you don't have to hear me drudge on for an hour and a half. Which, hey, King, I am going to bring this up, man. Over the past 2 days, I have streamed almost 4 hours or 3 hours in about 30 minutes. So, I think I've done my little bit for this week, and I'm kind of okay with that. But for King, I'm Coach. I thank you all very much for coming, and we are out. Go ahead and take it away, Paulie.
What's the situation on the ground today, right now, in the mall? Confusion. Instability. Vacuum at the top. What caused the decline?
Your sister's ass.
An aggressive government policy.